Hey guys, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. As of recording, the podcast is now available on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. You can find me there at Miller Talk. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like or a comment. Anyways, until next time, friends. All right, hey guys. Today we're talking to Tristan Lucas. So we're going to be talking about just starting with the news and trending on Twitter and stuff and see what's going on.
Hello. Nice to see everybody again. I'm the guy from the first episode who talked too much, so I'll be doing that again. So
uh,
yeah.
right before we started, we were talking a little bit about the Ukraine. Uh, I guess Tristan, was saying that Ukraine is now coming back to negotiations. I hadn't even heard that yet, so.
Yeah, that's what I had seen. I'll have to look at that, just a quick Twitter search, just to see. But from what I had seen just in passing, I've been way more focused on sports recently, if I'm going to be honest, and politics and passing over the last few days. Um, but it was that Zelensky or is willing to come to some sort of a peace negotiation, and he's put that message over to Trump and the U.S. Um, and we're gonna see if Putin is willing to have that. And Zelensky offered up a 30-day ceasefire. That was the thing that I saw. I think
Okay.
that was yesterday that I saw that.
Spitfire on X says Zelensky has moved the goalpost again. Now he is saying the only way he agrees to a peace deal is if I guess she meant Russia retreats from all of Ukraine. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I kind of talked about that whole thing with some people. Um, I talked about that with my mom and a couple of friends of mine. I just don't see how that's ever going to happen. I get that Ukraine wants that to be the case. You know, they used to have that sovereign territory.
Mm-hmm.
Wars of conquest used to be very prevalent prior to World War II.
Yeah.
Um, and it just wasn't common after that. Everybody decided that it's super scary and not good to do, you know. And then all of a sudden, after the Iron Curtain fell and the USSR broke up, the Russian Federation decided, hey, let's fucking go after the Crimea, and then invaded Ukraine recently. This is the first time at a large scale that somewhere in Europe or somewhere high priority or high profile that there's been an invasion, and now everybody's freaking out about it. Well, you have a country who is absolutely going to win without any sort of um, stepping in. And the only people who can step in is the European Union, who is not at all capable of stepping in right now. It would
Mm-hmm.
take them a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of doing things that they just don't have the capability of doing. Raising their, putting a lot of their GDP, a lot of percentage of their GDP into defense that they're not currently doing, and a lot of posturing has been happening in the last 2 years, or not 2 years, 2 weeks or so. And what has actually come out of it? The UK and France, right, have said that they were willing to do that, and then the Hungarian, I believe, and the Italian prime ministers both came out and were like, "Nah, get fucked. We're not sending our citizens to go die in a war for two other countries. It's not happening." And then that fell apart. And then the other party that would be potential in stopping that is the U.S. And with the current administration, that's just not happening. They've already ceased all um, aid to the Ukraine, and so now all of a sudden, and now they've barred the UK from allowing any intelligence from the U.S. to get sent over to the Ukraine, and that has just been a nail in the coffin. Since that has happened, the lack of resources in terms of aid that 200 or 160 billion. Some people speculate it's as much as 350 billion. I don't think it's that high. And then the intelligence, the U.S. intelligence being brought over third party from the UK being cut off is just done. The Ukraine has no chance now. So if you want a ceasefire, if you want lasting peace, the way to do it is say, yeah, well, the war's over. Russia now is a larger country. Ukraine is a smaller country, and the way to keep a war from happening in the future, because the Russia, to be honest, wants more land. You got to have that mineral deal, because then that means that there's American citizens in Ukrainian soil, just like there's American citizens all over the place in all kinds of other European countries and all over the rest of the world. So then, if somebody ever invades one of those countries, they're risking American deaths being happening in the process. And the second that that happens, then you've just caused the biggest country in the world to then put the biggest target on that country's back.
Yep.
That's, I think that's the best thing that Ukraine could do. But I don't think that they are going to do it with Zelensky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
I don't
don't.
know if you have thoughts on anything that I said, but
Yeah, I don't really know much about war. I never served or anything. I never really paid attention much to exactly how war goes in negotiations, but I do know that Russia is a much bigger country than Ukraine. So I feel like Zelensky's best bet would be to negotiate anything any way he can and try to at least come out with some sort of deal instead of just letting Russia steamroll through his country until he has the whole country. You know, he may lose that eastern part where a majority of the resources are, but I mean, if you still want your country and you still want to be sovereign, and that's what you're saying, then you can have your own country, and Russia can have the Donbass region or whatever it is he's exactly going after.
I'm going to look up to be honest, I haven't seen a map of the current war, so I don't even know what the actual
Mm-hmm.
map looks like.
I've kept
Map
up with
of
like, I listen to the news and see what like stuff's going on, but I don't actually really know what a lot of it means when they're saying it. But I just know like what's happened, what is happening. And I know recently, ever since, Zelensky came to the White House, embarrassed himself on TV, and then after that, all of a sudden, we seem to be reporting on every attack that happens. Every drone attack, every major bombing, or anything that happens is now at the forefront of the media. When before, for the past 3 years, I mean, maybe once in a while you heard about a large attack, but it's just been like the war's ongoing. We haven't been reporting on these specific attacks. So I always thought that was weird.
I'm looking. If you go to, I'll actually just copy and paste this right now. Would you prefer Discord or Twitter?
Oh, yeah, let's do Discord.
Yeah. So this is what I'm on right now, and it looks like just from the 7th. This is just the date of the 7th is interactive map of individual battles, air drone strikes, shellings, explosives, and violence against the civilians that are happening. And it's scaled to number of events. Let's see if they have. updated up to the 12th at all. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's very much so localized to the eastern border.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the fighting's happening in Donetsk, Luhansk, Kharkiv, and then Kherson. But then there's a lot of drone strikes, shelling attacks that are happening in the Sumy and Tahir. Uh, I don't know how to pronounce all these.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can see how big this easternmost province, this Luhansk. Look how big that. Are you seeing the map that I am?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Hover over Luhansk
I
and
am.
look how far to the west all of the battles are on Luhansk and how far to the west it is. I mean
Mm-hmm.
that region's almost completely taken over.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, most of Russia is still in, or most of Ukraine is still in Ukrainian soil, but it's only a matter of time until the defense is depleted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Russia has about 50% of their defense spent. I don't even want to know how much of the Ukrainian defense capabilities have been spent and how much of that even exists anymore now that there's no U.S. aid
I heard. Let
happening
me
anymore.
double check, but I'm pretty sure they just resumed the. Let's see. Yes, Trump did resume the aid to Ukraine
In
after.
defense or what?
I'm reading it. Uh, it basically says that Zelensky agreed to a 30-day ceasefire, or agreed to propose a 30-day ceasefire to Russia. So Trump has just resumed spending.
Yes. Here's an AP um, article right here. That's basically saying that the Ukraine and Zelensky have signaled the openness to the ceasefire. Basically, the thing that I talked about at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and have put the option of peace at the hands of Putin. Um, that he repeatedly ruled out a temporary break in hostilities, that it would only benefit Ukraine. However, if the U.S. is putting pressure on Russia now, it seems like this might be the best way to do it, especially if Putin and Russia have already come forward right after that meeting in the White House with Zelensky that ended badly, where he was like, "Hey, I'll do the mineral deal with you, and I'm open to peace." I know that Zelensky's not. If he's willing to say something like that, you kind of got to be open to having this ceasefire and
Mm-hmm.
during this time talk about peace. Let's see. Trump is going to push really hard for just ending the war right here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And if Putin doesn't, that's just gonna make Putin look like the bad guy and just put Ukraine strongly in the good guy camp, and that does not look good for Putin.
Yeah.
I think Russia could very much so benefit from this, even if it doesn't benefit them in the short term. And I think that Zelensky realizes that nothing really benefits them other than just doing what Trump wants. He tried going to the EU, and the EU, even if they wanted to help, that help is going to be at least a year away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know this for an absolute fact. I was stationed in Italy for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and the extent of what the Italian military is essentially a more heavily armored police force.
Yeah.
Um, they had military weapons, they had military uh, training, but the people who volunteered did it because it looked better than a normal job. And the majority of the military just hung out around American military bases because they were required to provide security for the military, U.S. military security, basically double security, and to provide security at like um, famous landmarks. So if you go to Rome, you'll see just police patrolling normally, and then you'll see military, um, like small military detachments at like um, the the Coliseum, like a large one at the Coliseum. You'll see a small one at the Spanish Steps. You'll see a small one at the Trevi Fountain. You go to Pisa. I never went to Pisa, but you'll see military at Pisa, and stuff like that. That's primarily what the military does there. And it would take a long time for them to be like war ready and able to not only defend themselves but defend another country and to be able to mobilize outside of their nation. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's like that for the majority of other countries in Europe. Whereas, I don't know if you're aware of this, the Burger King rule thing, the Burger King rule of America.
No.
Um, the logistics has to be capable. American logistics has to be capable of dropping a Burger King that's functional within, I believe, 48 hours anywhere in the world to be able to supply and feed their troops.
Hmm.
It sounds really stupid, but they need to have like an operational Burger King able to be dropped anywhere in the world in 48 hours.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think the last time they did that was like uh when we were going into like Syria or Afghanistan or Iraq. One of the last times, like 10 years ago or so. But yeah, it was just the America can just drop a Burger King for its troops whenever we want, and then be ready for war in that time. So most countries are very much far behind us in terms of military capability, and that has
Yeah.
to do with logistics.
America has the three biggest air forces or something. Two biggest
Yes,
navies. Like.
the U.S. Air Force is the largest air force in the world and easily the most capable. The U.S. Navy is the second biggest air force, and then even though the U.S. Army doesn't have like a combative air force, they have like in terms of tonnage probably the third biggest air force, but that's like needed to carry the mass number of troops that they can just plant wherever they want, just hundreds of thousands of soldiers, just anywhere. And they also have a lot of helicopters like Apaches and Blackhawks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And no one's been spending money like we have on defense. Let me tell you.
No, I think we spend more than I think the number 2 through 9 combined
Mm-hmm.
every year. and we slowly inch closer to that 1 trillion per year mark
The
every single
Department of
year.
Defense loves to spend our money. Did you know
And to
in World War
what?
One the Department of Defense bought a wrench that was so big the only nut that it would fit on was ones on the Hoover Dam turbines. But for some reason, the US government spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, which would be like millions now, but hundreds of thousands of dollars on these wrenches. And then not only did they spend all this money on wrenches, then the war ended shortly after they had spent all this money on these wrenches that are useless. No, you know, you can sell the Department of Defense almost anything as long as they overspend on it. And
Well, in theory, that makes sense. But the majority of the money spent every year in defense spending is the salaries of the soldiers and the other
mm-hmm.
troops.
Yeah.
It seems inflated, and I'm sure a lot. Well, I'm not sure. A lot of the stuff that we spend our money on is somewhat excessive, but we do need that capability
Mm-hmm.
because of the problems with NATO and the EU.
Yeah, everyone gets a little nervous when you start talking about cutting spending to the Department of Defense. You know, we want to be defended. I don't want to let that go. But that's why we need things like Doge to just make sure everything's being spent the right way.
Now they are actually cutting Department of Defense assets. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if you're aware of that. It's not just areas of the government that aren't Department of Defense. I have a friend who's a civilian government employee who's contracted. He's a civilian whose company contracts with the Navy, and he lives in D.C. And he had concerns because his company, technically for the amount of time that he was there, it was still considered pro bono work, or he was not pro bono, but it was probation. I used the wrong word. He was still in his probationary phase, and so they decided that uh, if they were to decide that his job was not necessary, he was just straight up gonna not be out of a job because he was they weren't even gonna move him somewhere else um, and within the DoD. And
Mm.
so I haven't heard any more about that. And then I was actually considering trying to get a government job at the base that I worked at prior in Italy. And they currently have a 90-day hold from January 20th to April. And on all government jobs that are not military.
Mm.
And so a friend of mine actually had that job and is going to be was supposed to be moving to another job in Texas. And I was already all set and ready, had my application ready for that job. And it's just on hold right now. They might not even be um, keeping that billet. They might get rid of that billet because there's two American civilian jobs in that office, and they might see fit to only have one.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those has been there for 10 years, and he can just ask to re up and have that for another 5 years. And so if they do, even though I've talked to some person who used to be a senior, the highest ranking senior enlisted in the Navy, who's been in the security precinct at that base for 10 years after his 20-plus-year career in the military, and he's does incredible work and actually put me onto that job and was like, hey, this thing's going to be coming up in about a month, so keep your eye on it. As soon as it pops up on the government job website, um, go ahead and apply for it. I know how good of a candidate you would be for it. Take it. uh, he's like, yeah, man, I don't even know if it's going to be available. And that was the difference in 3 weeks because of everything going on with Doge. And I think it's great what they're doing, but it's just the cost of what's happening
Mm-hmm.
to shred up the government. You know,
Yeah, it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
that's
I'm
true.
sure we're gonna
It
replace a
absolutely
bunch of
is.
people. We're gonna cut jobs. I'm sure we're gonna miss some things, and I'm sure we're gonna go too far with some things. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day, it's this stuff's been running for too long, and it needs to we need to trim that fat off.
I absolutely agree. And my buddy, he had that job lined up, another government job going from Italy to Texas. He now has to wait on it because even though he was accepted into that job, was about to go on terminal leave from that other job because he had enough leave days saved up from the end of that one contract to the beginning of the new one. He now had to take unpaid vacation for X amount of time until that uh, government employment freeze was over. And so he's currently literally out of a job for right now. From I think actually it hasn't kicked in yet. He's still working there until the late March is when he'll take that unpaid vacation, and he'll just be going back to where he's from, back home, and literally just being on vacation until he hears whether he has that job or not. And then if not, he'll just become a civilian for a while until he hears about other government jobs because I think he wants to stay in government sector. So who knows?
Hmm.
It is what it is.
So
I
what
think it's
were
good
oh,
overall.
yeah. So what were you doing in Italy? Um, Obviously you were on a military base, but
Yeah, so I was in the Navy, and I had two jobs when I was in the Navy. My first job was religious program specialist. That's the Navy's fancy way of saying chaplain's assistant.
mm-hmm,
So normally on a ship, you would be having the little ship's chapel that you would tend to and do all that stuff with. And the chaplain, normally the majority of chaplains in the Navy are Protestant Christians, and then the second most numerous chaplains are Catholics. And then you get the occasional um, members of different religions. I think the second most numerous are Muslims, and then I think there's like a few Orthodox Christian, like Eastern Orthodox or
mm-hmm,
even Russian Orthodox. But then there's some Jews, some Hindu. I think there's like two or three Hindus in the Navy. Anyway, you would just
mm,
be doing all that stuff, setting up appointments to use your spaces because there's a couple offices, there's a couple meeting rooms that you have as part of your chapel spaces, and you as an your job title to shorten it up is RP. So I was an RP,
okay,
and I would just take control of those spaces and make sure it was all clean. If somebody needed to use it, go and go into our calendar and designate it off for that amount of time, or set a couple emails, talk to my other people, or maybe during this time I had to go and work with the command as a whole, the ship as a whole. But since I was at my command, I had an entire chapel, and it was a pretty big one. There's multiple chapels across two bases, and so I had an entire group. I think there was at the most there was five chaplains and six or seven RPs, and so we just did the same thing, but just a larger volume of it. And so we had a whole bunch of groups. At one point, we would have like a Catholic service with like over 100 patrons go into that service, and then like an hour later, after we cleaned up very quickly and changed that main uh, religious service area um, over out of the Catholic, um, the way it had to be set up, over to the Protestant one with more like singing and dancing and stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
Um, not dancing, but singing.
yeah,
Um, and then after that, there was more of like a traditional like Hallelujah gospel type um, Protestant service, and then there was the occasional like Jewish Passover service that you had to do, and it was interesting. We even had a small North Pagan
hmm,
congregation that would
interesting.
do what are they called? Uh, I forget the names of their religious events. They didn't do like weird blood stuff that they used to do back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, but they did the equivalent of it. You know, like how Christians don't do blood stuff. They replace that with wine now.
Yeah.
You know, it's the equivalent. But yeah, Norse pagans. There was a couple Hindus and stuff on my base, but then after a while, after 3 years of being there, I transferred over to what's called a gunner's mate. Um, and so I went to the police precinct or the military police precinct to the security, and I worked with the other gunners mates, the GMs. And what my job was to essentially work as a gun range safety officer, a line coach, and a weapons expert in the armory. And so every 6 months, all of the military police had to go and requalify on all of their guns, um, all of their M4s, M16s. They had M9s, Beretta M9s, and eventually they had to switch over to the new SIGs, the M18s and M19s.
I love those.
And then I, I have thoughts on those things, uh, but that's for another conversation.
Yeah.
Um, I actually have pictures of me changing over. I have an entire Pelican case, one of those big
Mm-hmm.
rifle cases, literally stacked with probably 70 uh, Mark 18s
Dang.
and those because we were doing initial maintenance on those things in one
Mm-hmm.
of our armories that was connected to the base's NCIS office, and so we had about 300 guns that we had to replace the Berettas to the SIGs, and then our M500 shotguns, the Mossberg 500s,
Ooh, those are good
and then
ones too.
we had a couple FN 240 Bravo mounted machine guns
Hmm.
that we would have depending on the FP level. Um, FP is the military version of like uh, growing up you would have like the did you ever play Black Ops when you
Yeah.
were a kid?
I played
The,
Call of Duty up until Ghosts. That's what it was.
okay, like Black Ops 1 had the zombies mission 7,
Mm-hmm.
the one where they were in the Pentagon.
Yeah.
It was like the threat level delta or whatever it was that was like flashing in there. It was
Mm-hmm.
basically like, yeah. Well, the military has FP levels.
Mm-hmm.
You're never in alpha because alpha basically means there's no threat. Since 9/11 happened and the war on terror
Yeah.
has been a thing, you're always at least in Bravo. Um, so alpha exists, but it essentially until the war on terror dies, which it will probably never die, you're
Mm-hmm.
always in at least Bravo. And depending on when I was in Italy, there were times where there was people who were, um, there would be like a protest. So like some little tiny, how like there's like 500 KKK members in the U.S. now,
Yeah.
and people get pissed off at them. Well, essentially, there's like fascist groups everywhere. So a tiny little fascist group would like make a post on Twitter, and then like 5,000 people across Italy would get their fucking panties in a bunch and just start protesting. And they decided that the best place to protest those five fascists was in front of the military base, the U.S. military base. So they would pop up in front of our base with like 150 people with these signs that was like, "We don't like fascists. Why are you doing that in front of our American military base?" So that would cause us to go up an FPCon level because you don't know whether
Mm-hmm.
one of these fucking idiots is just going to charge the gate, and then we have to shoot them.
Yep.
So that means that we have to put our Kevlar on. We have to get extra ammo. We have to put all of our people on the gate with M4s rather than just handguns, and we have to put the 240 Bravo up. Why? Because the second that we have to put the the oh my gosh, I can't think of the ammo caliber. Uh, 7.62 by 51
Hmm.
is what the 240 fires. The
Mm-hmm.
big boy rounds, the stuff that'll fucking turn you into Swiss cheese real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens when we have to go into Charlie. And then the Italian military has to get like double the amount of force that they have every time one of those protests happen. Why? Because like they decide that that's the best time to do it. Well, so that's what my job was, to make sure that the military police on base were properly trained. And so luckily there was like an Italian shooting range like 30 minutes away from base that we had like a contract with, where we would pay them way too much money every like couple months to go and use their shooting range. It was like a competition shooting range with those really nice, overly expensive 22 caliber guns,
Hmm.
to go and use their range. And then we would go and rock up with like 50 MPs with really shitty old military issue guns, and just blast up their mounds for a while. But yeah, it was fun. That was my job for the last year of my military career. And then when I
Nice.
hit 4 years, I was forced to extend an extra 6 years or 6 months because I didn't want to re-enlist. So they said, "Hey, you gotta we're extending you for 6 months because fuck you." And so I said, "Well, I'm already in Italy, so you're making me stay an extra 6 months in a vacation spot. All right." And so I did. So I spent a total of 4 years there in Italy, 4.5 years active duty, and then I got out.
Nice. I was gonna serve in the Marine Corps, but the first thing was I went to sit down and like, sign the papers and whatever and get ready to go. And uh the Marine recruiter saw my ASVAB and I got like a 98. And so
Oh,
he's
okay.
like, you can do whatever job you want. And I was like, okay. I was like, I want to be like a combat medic, a field medic or whatever. And he was like, oh, the Marine Corps doesn't have those. I'm going to have to send you over to the Navy to be a corpsman,
Yep.
because you'll basically be a Marine, but you're in the Navy. You'll always be with Marines. But then we got talking more, and he asked me about my medical history. And it turns out that the United States military doesn't like people with heart defects. So that didn't work out. I have a
Oh, you had a
congenital
good
heart.
you had a good recruiter,
Yeah. He was, I,
or you had a moral recruiter, I guess.
um, yeah, we did PT. Like when I was in high school, I used to drive to a town that's like 45 minutes west of here every other Wednesday, and we would do PT around the college over there, uh, just running and push ups and pull ups and all kinds of stuff. But I did that for 2 years. And then at that point, I don't know why you don't ask those type of questions when like we start this, because I kind of wasted 2 years of my life, like every other Wednesday, pretty much, unless I had something else going on, like on vacation or something. I was there, and
So were you in the debt pool or were you in ROTC?
no, it was literally just like we went to a recruiter's office, and then they did. It was just like pre basic training. It was more supposed to be for people who are like in their mid 20s or something, and then they decide to enlist, but they're like fat and out of shape. So they get you back into shape for basic training, even though basic training really will get you in shape. But that's what it was meant for. But we were high school kids, and I loved working out at the time and everything, so it was right on par for me. And so I was like, I might as well just do this. And like, he would go through drills and stuff with us that we were going to do in basic training, so we'd already kind of like have that knowledge too.
So did you actually sign any paperwork
No, because I
with
sat
them?
down. I
Oh, okay.
I
You just
turned
kind of hung out with
18.
them.
We had to wait till we were 18, so I turned 18, and then I went into the recruiting office like to actually sign the papers. But yeah, they wouldn't let me with my heart defect, even though like I'm fine, and my heart doctor will tell you I'm healthier than like a majority of people who don't have any heart complications. But I've had two heart surgeries, so
Yeah, that gets complicated.
Yeah.
My recruiter, they were one of those recruiters that was like, yeah, we need to get our quota in. What kind of issues do you have medically? And so the main recruiter there, um, we had like an E5, an E6, and then like a chief who just kind of hung out in his office. And anytime he heard something like really fucked up, he would just poke his head out and be like, "What the fuck did I just hear?" Uh, the senior, the E6, was like the main guy I talked to, and I can't even remember his name. And he was like, "What kind of medical stuff do you got?" And I was like, "Yeah, I had asthma when I was like 6." And he's like, "Have you had any issues with that lately?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "You don't got asthma, bud." And I was like, "Fantastic." And I'm 21. I was 21 at the time.
Mhm.
I waited about 2 years. I got out of. I was old, getting out of high school. I was like 18, just after getting out of my junior year. So like you graduate, quote unquote, your junior year in, like, for me, for my high school, because it was like a farming town. They do it slightly differently because of like the agriculture and the way that like the county fair works.
Mhm.
Um, you like start right before the fair, and so you have to end early, I guess. And whatever, you end in late May. I don't know if that's the same for you or if it's
Yeah.
in June.
Yeah, well, it
Um,
depends cuz the way they set up the school thing is they put in snow days, but here in Oklahoma, we don't some years we literally will get zero snow. So they put in these
mm,
snow days, and if we don't use them, then sometimes we end school like 2 3 weeks early. But most of the time it's supposed to be like the mid to like second or third week in May normally.
okay. We get snowed a lot, and but a lot of times it's really hard to get a day off of school because of snow. You
Mm-hmm.
basically have to get like either like 6 inches plus,
Ooh.
or there has to be like 2 inches of snow that melted and turned into ice, and you get
Mm-hmm.
like just a really bad, um, like black ice problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we have like the beginning of our school year completely dependent on the farmers because
Yeah.
we're right in the middle of like the Rust Belt and the Grain Belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would go to school for like 2 weeks, and then we would be off because that's when the county fair was, and a lot of the kids went to the fair and had like showed like animals and stuff like that, or helped
Mm-hmm.
their parents during the fair.
Oh yeah.
And then everybody else was going to the fair, would like even help families of farmers. And then like that went on for a week, and then you just went right back to school. Well, so we ended in like late May, like the last week or 2 weeks of May. And so then turned I my birthday is in late June.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 18 or 17, turned 18 a month after graduation, or the end of the school year. So going into my senior year I was 18. So just after my senior year I turned 19. And so I did a I don't know, trade school in high school for welding.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it worked is you do half of your school day at the trade school, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, that's how
your
we did it
senior
here.
year, in the senior year, you can either do this half of your school day, the second half of your school day at the trade school. But if you're good enough, you can get a like a part-time job, and that is your school day. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do that. And so as soon as I graduated from high school, I just went to full-time work.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a couple years, and then went from job to job, and then that's when I enlisted a couple years into it. And so I was like 21 when I enlisted, and so I was already a little bit older, and I already had like some bumps and bruises, but that had nothing to do with it. It was like, have you ever broken bones? Yeah, when I was playing sports. uh you didn't, because you have to actually let them, like, you have to allow them to have your medical records. So you say no to that waiver, or you say no to that request, And you say, no, I've never broken bones. Okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
My recruiters were one of those guys that were like, yeah, we just want you to enlist.
Yeah. Yeah, he really wanted me in there, but he was like, dude, there's no way like you'd almost have to go up to the president and have him like clear me to be in the military. So he was like, yeah, dude, you're like done. You can't do this.
Plus, the Marines are they're very specific. They want a very,
Mm-hmm.
even though aside from the Army, who I think when it comes to ASVABs, they'll like let 25 in.
Yeah.
I think the Marines will let like 32 in.
Yeah, I had a friend, he got a 38 and he just barely cleared it. So he was in the Marines.
I actually tried to switch over. It's called a blue to green.
Mm-hmm.
Switch over to the Marine Corps because I wasn't really enjoying my time. I wanted like a more like hardcore experience. But I have like hand tattoo. And so I was talking to a sergeant recruiter in Germany because I was in Italy at the time, and that was the closest recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was like, "Man, I don't know, dude. I don't know if I can let you in. That's gonna be a crazy waiver. Like anything past the hand would be fine." And one of his master sergeant showed up. He was like, "Yo, master sergeant, this fucking squid wants to join the Marine Corps, but he has a hand tattoo. Do you think a waiver would work?" And in the background, I could hear him. He was like 20 feet away from the phone call, and I hear him. He goes, "He has a fucking hand tattoo?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he just goes, "Fuck no." I was like, "Ah, damn it." He's like, "Yeah, sorry, man. Master Sergeant said no." And I was like, "All right, damn it, fine." That was a funny conversation. It was like 10 minutes. We were just chatting. He was like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. Oh, Master Sergeant just came in. Hey, yo, Master Sergeant." And he goes, "Fuck no."
Yeah, the Marines are always cool guys.
I see. I actually don't mind Marines.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that I think Marines suck is when they get out of the Marine Corps and they still think they're in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little funny, especially because Veterans Day, the day before Veterans Day,
Mm-hmm.
is the Marine Corps birthday.
Yep.
And so they go fucking crazy for that.
Mm-hmm.
Last year or 2 years ago, I think, one of them, my buddy, who was like a manager at a bar. Um, it was the day before Veterans Day, and so I was hanging out over there. Two people who both of us used to work at, who was a Marine, and his son, who we worked at, had just gotten into the Marines, and he brought along his buddy, who was one of his Marine buddies as well. And so you can just tell and the dad was now the third generation Marine who produced a fourth generation Marine. And they were like super hoo-yah crazy about it and just insane, like Semper Fi, do or die, gung ho, gung ho. They were already half drunk when they ran in. They were like, "I'd like to get a shot for the Marine Corps birthday." And I just looked at him. I was like, "Bro, can we calm the fuck down?" They started yelling and stuff, and I was just like, "I'm gonna get out of here." So I go across the street to another bar, and that the place is filled with like 10 Marines. And I was just like, "Oh my god!" And you can tell because they're all wearing their USMC hats. They all have the globe and anchor,
High and tight.
Eagle globe and anchor. Yeah. And you're just like, you're out of it, bro. You're out of the military. Marine Corps till I die, man. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Literally nobody cares.
They'll
Just live your
all
fucking
regroup
life.
in hell. That's what they always say. Something like that.
It does suck though that you weren't able to get in. I know a
Yeah.
couple people who wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted to, and the reason was because my dad was a Marine, or so he told me. My dad was a drug addict and a liar and all these other things, and he told me that he served in Desert Storm, but I have a cousin that's a lawyer in the army, and he was able to pull the records, and there was no, my dad, like, that name uh, didn't come up in any age range that he would be. So he never served. He always lied about that. So it really wasn't a good reason, anyways. So, I mean, it's always good to serve your country and everything, but I just wanted to do it. Oh, because my dad did, but my dad's awful anyways. So,
And he just decided to lie about it and
oh
just
yeah, he
pretend
lied
he
about
was.
it. Like he just, that's just something he told people. I guess,
Yeah,
back in the day, you really couldn't look anything up. The chances that you ran into someone that could find that out wasn't, besides, like, when you
yeah.
start asking them questions and he doesn't know what company he was in or what his job was and everything, all those specific codes like Bravo. I can't remember any of them anymore, but all that, your MOS, yeah, that's how they get a lot of guys when they ask them their MOS and they just say some random shit. It's like, so you were a toilet cleaner?
Yeah. One of the funny ones in the Navy is aircraft carriers are so massive. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you've like I knew how big they were, but when I went to Norfolk prior to going to Naples, Norfolk, Virginia is the biggest Navy base in the world. I had to stay there for 11 days prior to flying out to my duty station, and I was just walking around one day because I didn't have anything to do. They just kind of put you in a bunk and they're just like, yeah, stay here and don't fucking break anything. Um, your plane is this date, and you just kind of have to sit here. I was walking around base, and you can get pretty close to those boats and to the ships. And there was two aircraft carriers and one of the amphibs, one of the marine kind of carriers, the ones that only have one runway rather than two, which is what an aircraft carrier is. Those things, when you get up close to it, it literally looks like the biggest thing you've ever seen. Even though you go to a
Mm-hmm.
city and you see a skyscraper, and that's technically bigger.
Yeah.
Aircraft carriers are so big, it's insane. They hold 5,000 people and like 80 planes or 65, 75 planes or whatever it is. There's a rate, and MOS is for like Marines and Army, and then Navy has rates. So like my rate was RP, and then I moved to GM. And there's a rate literally meant for a dude who lives on a aircraft carrier who has to man the shops so that when the other people get off of their shift, they can go to the shops that are in the carriers to go and buy things.
Hmm.
And it's called shopkeeper
Yeah.
because you can't have civilians on these ships that are out for months at a time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be able to buy specific like nice little amenities for yourself and
Yeah.
fun things. But that's crazy. Did you have any other questions that like for another topic, or we could stay on this one? I feel like
No.
we've just been on just random military stuff for a while.
Yeah. Uh. So, what did you go see while you were in Italy? I heard you mention earlier you had seen some things.
Yeah, my first year, so I was there at the beginning of 2019 and then I left just at the end at the like the beginning of 2024. So 2023, sorry. I get dates messed up
Yeah, I
sometimes.
do too.
Unfortunately, I was there for pretty much all of COVID. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of what I would have been able to go to was cut off.
Yeah.
Um, the entire first year, I didn't go and travel or do anything other than just like my office was just full of religious people, and they liked going to um, group office fun place like trips occasionally, like once every like 6 months or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
for those like team building. events. And so like the senior chaplain would basically just pay for it out of his own pocket, the B&B, and then um, we would request a government vehicle. And to be honest, I don't even know if that was like okay or not to, but I think it was like an enlightening, like a religious enlightening event or something like that. So the at first we went to Assisi. It's a city in. I'm gonna look up Google Maps real quick because I need to make sure this is correct. Google Maps. Assisi, Italy.
How do you spell that?
Assisi. And what's really cool about that has the St. Francis Basilica.
Mm-hmm.
Like St. Francis, the saint guy, his big church. Um, so Assisi has like a modern city, town, whatever. But up on the hill is like the old timey stone walled in city from like way back in the day, and that's where the basilica is. And so we spent like 2 days there, and the first day we just kind of walked around in the old city,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second day we went to the basilica, and then there was a castle on the other side of the city, and we went around to the castle.
That's
So
pretty
that was
neat.
really cool. It took like an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours to just walk around the basilica
Dang.
itself.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good
um
walk.
you could like stand up there and just look out across the plain, and you could just see for miles and miles and miles. It was beautiful and gorgeous. You could, no wonder they put fucking fortified castles on hills
Mm-hmm.
because you could see anything that was coming at you
Oh
from
yeah, I just
forever
found a
away.
picture of that. I was
Yeah.
flipping through the pictures while you were talking, so people could see. But
Um. So one of the main pictures is like the actual basilica itself, and then like this rectangular green lawn. I don't know if that's what you see, and then the way in the background you can see the modern city in the back. It was a CC Albee set photo from September 2021. I don't know if you see that picture.
I don't know.
Here, let me
One
do
of
that.
the few places that me and my wife agree that we both really want to go see is Italy. So I of course, completely, totally different reasons, because I want to go there just because, history and the Vatican and stuff, and she wants to go for other reasons. So,
What reasons does she want to go?
um, I can't remember.
Oh, that's not. She's right there. Go ask her. Well, anyway, that was the first place I ever went, and that was because I was part of an office where it was like required for me to go. That's where I've actually learned about Italian driving. Italian driving is glorious. I absolutely love it, especially Southern Italian driving. Um, so I guess Assisi is right smack dab in the center of the Italian peninsula. So it was probably about a 3 hour drive. I actually
Mm-hmm.
drove one of the carpools up and down. So I had our Catholic priest and two of my senior enlisted in the car um, down. And so Italian driving, there are speed limits and there are laws just like in America. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you don't actually have to fucking follow them. You and the police don't actually enforce the laws unless you get into a car accident or unless you are driving incredibly poorly and incredibly dangerously to the point where it's like, okay, I have seen this and now I have to step in and do this. and go out of my way, my casual drive, and pull you over and inconvenience myself.
Hmm.
I'm not kidding you. That's actually how it works. You can be driving down a highway that's like 80 kilometers an hour speed limit. That's the equivalent of like a 65.
Yeah.
And you can be doing like 140 kilometers an hour, which is like 90 or close to 100. And they won't give a fuck. You can fly past like a carbonary, which is like a special police essentially. They're like the big boy police.
Mm-hmm.
They won't care. They'll just be like, man, he must be really busy. He must need to go somewhere real quick. And as long as you don't crash, and as long as you are driving relatively safely, they do not care. It is
Interesting.
incredibly offensive driving,
Hmm.
and it creates so many like um uh like road backups because everybody's trying to like cut in. They will like see like a 10 car line and they'll just zip all the way up to the front of the exit and then cut in.
Ah.
There's no respect anywhere on the road. And I don't do it in America, but the second I ever go back to Italy, I'm in love because you can just drive however you want. And the worse you like, the shittier of a person you are on the road, the quicker you're going to get to wherever you need to go,
Hmm.
and the better it's going to affect you. Oh, it's so nice. It's so fun. But there's some people who get stressed out. Like one of the people who I drove with, she was supposed to drive. She was like this tiny little 5'1" thing who had been there for like
Mm-hmm.
a year and a half, who was supposed to be like my sponsor and teach me all the ways. He can't do it. He was just like, Lucas, Tristan, I gotta get, you gotta drive. I hate it. I hate driving on the roads. And I was just like, okay, what's it like? She's like, you'll find out. I was like, all right, cool. And I loved it. Um, so the next place I went to, so if you go onto Google Maps and just look up, just go to Naples. Um, it's the best way that I can explain it.
All right.
So, um, go ahead and look up Gricigiana. Wait, GI. Hold on.
Resiganano.
GRI. Yeah, Gricigiano di
Yeah.
Aversa.
Yeah.
This town, Gricignano di Aversa, is the little town. It basically means the town of Griciano of Aversa. Aversa is the larger town that makes
Ah.
up a suburb of Naples. And if you zoom in to this Griciano de Aversa, right across that main highway, do you see like Navy Lodge Naples?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually the military base. It's like the housing base of the the Navy right there. That's pretty much where a lot of the civilians are going to live. That's pretty much where most of the Navy personnel live in the Naples area. There's another base right near um, the international airport of Naples that's actually connected to the international airport, which is like the operational base, and you have to drive from one base to another pretty much every single day.
Hmm.
It's the housing base and then the actual base. And then there's another base. So if you go to, so it's like the difference between, so Aversa has a lot of places. I used to go into Aversa a lot. There's this entire alleyway called Bar Alley where a lot of us would go and like socialize with the locals.
Mm-hmm.
Where there was probably like a 2 mile or 2 kilometer stretch where you would just walk, and the entire alleyway on both sides was bar, hookah bar, kebab place, bar, 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 burger place, kebab place, bar, 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 bar. There was just parties all the time at night. And it was right by a police station, and there was like parking that you could get personally. You would just there's people all over the place, and you would just pay the people a couple euros to watch your car, or there was like a specific parking area that was like pretty far away that you had to walk, and it was just depending on where you could go. Then, and that was in Aversa itself. Then there was Naples itself, and that was broken into a whole bunch of different areas. You could go to Bacoli, which is if you follow the coast to the, I guess, um, west. If you see Naples and just follow the coast to the west, there's like Pozzuoli, Pozzouli, and there's Bacoli right at the tip there. And then if you take it all the way up, there's Lago Patria, where you can just Google or search Lago Patria. It's another town kind of off of Naples. That houses another base. It's the NATO base in the area, and that has like Germans, English, like people from England. There's Spanish. There's a whole bunch of people. That has a whole bunch of beach resorts and stuff, beach places that you can go to, and there I would spend a lot of time there. If you went south, you can see this big giant green thing called
Ooh.
Parco Nazionale di Vesuvio. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That's Mount Vesuvius.
Oh.
Um, it literally just breaks Naples in half, and you can see how the city just wraps around it. Um, if you zoom in, you can actually see roads going up into it, and there's hiking trails. You can actually hike Mount Vesuvius, and there's a B&B up there. There's a hospital, and there's even like restaurants up
Dang.
near the top of it. Yeah, that's legitimately Mount Vesuvius. It's really beautiful. Um, I have just pictures of when you're driving the highways, you just see Mount Vesuvius there every single day. It's gorgeous.
4,203 feet.
One
It's
of
a
my
pretty good
chaplains
mountain.
was hiking it one time and actually got he kind of went off trail because he was trying to, I think he was running late to something, and he tried to take a shortcut and he fell down and got injured and had to have one of the Italian like medevac helicopters come and find him. I'm
Wow.
not kidding you. He's a Korean American dude who used to work with one of the SEAL teams. It was pretty crazy. We actually thought he might die because we couldn't find him for a while. We knew he was hiking Vesuvius, and then we heard that there's an emergency helicopter going to find him, and yeah, he was in the hospital for like 2 weeks.
Dang. That's a good
Yep.
picture.
You can at the south end of Vesuvius, you have the Parco Ecologico di Pompeii. That's Pompeii itself, like the ruins of Pompeii.
Dang.
You pay the money and you can actually just walk around it. Those are actually not even the best ruins. I forget the name of the place. Oh shoot, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Oh my goodness, I feel stupid. There's another set of ruins that are even better than Pompeii that most people don't know about because Pompeii is Pompeii.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah, I know
feel
what you're
dumb now.
talking about now too, but
I've been to both. Um, I'm looking it up. Oh, Herculaneum. If you look up Herculaneum, they're pretty close. It's near the middle. Herculaneum tours.
It pulled up a hotel. Uh,
Yeah. Well, if there's a hotel there,
okay.
there's the Herculaneum Hotel in Maison, but then it's the ecological park of Herc Herculaneum, and those actually have been excavated even better than Pompeii itself, and you can see it a lot better. It's Herculaneum. Um, it's right near Torre del Greco.
Here we go. So this was another one of the cities that Mount Vesuvius covered.
Yep.
Interesting. I love all that stuff.
If you you see if you take Vesuvius and just take a line straight west, do you see where there's like that little cutout between Baccoli and Bagnoli?
I don't think I'm seeing what you're talking about.
Okay, look up Pozzuoli. Pozzouli.
You have to go slower.
Pozzzoul.
ZZ.
Yep, Zzouli.
Okay. All right.
Do you see where in the water there's like that little like cape? I guess I don't know if that's the technical term, um, but there's like the um, let me just. It's gonna be easier if I just take like a screenshot and circle it for you.
All right. I kind of forgot all of that was in Italy, Pompeii and everything.
Okay, I am sending it to you right now. There. So you should be looking at Pozzuoli and then just that little body of water.
Yeah.
Okay. So right around there is actually a submerged volcano that is technically dormant, but has the ability to um, become active more so than Vesuvius. That is, I believe I was told it was larger than than Vesuvius and could be more destructive.
Hmm.
It's around that area. But yeah, if you look right around that area towards the western area, the Castillo Arago
Mm-hmm.
Aragonose di Bahia, that castle is really cool. You can actually walk right up to it, and they have a lot of parties near there. You can drive pretty close up to it, and there's like a lot of walk up restaurants right near there as well. The castle right near Naples.
Yeah, Europe's got a lot of interesting stuff that people
To
built so long
go
ago.
away from Naples, if you take where Bacoli is and take those islands right off of that coast, there's Procida, you see it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the larger one that's Ischia. That's a very popular tourist island. You can charter boats right near Bacoli and Pozzuoli, and say you have like I don't know 5 to 10 buddies, you can charter like a little like I don't know, like a fishing ship, like a large fishing ship sized luxury boat for I don't know 1,200 euros. The more people, the less each individual has to pay, and for the entire day, you can just spend the day swimming around in those boats and even go all the way up to Ischia. Or you can take a ferry for like 20, 30 euros, 20 euros maybe, and go over to the Ischia island. And then you're on Ischia, and you can even get a like a B&B or a hotel there and
Hmm.
just stay on the island for a while. That's the most popular island. However, if you take that island and go south for a little bit, there's going to be the smaller island across the Gulf of Naples to Capri. That's another very popular island. Do you see that one?
I somehow managed to accidentally close my entire Google Chrome.
Uh-oh.
I was just trying. I was looking. I was looking at pictures of stuff as you're talking, and then I meant to like exit out of the pictures, and I closed the whole thing. So let's try to get back to where we were. Yeah, I'm back to that big island.
So just go south for a little bit. Not south, but like southeast across the down the Gulf of Naples,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see another one called Capri.
All right.
You see that one?
Mm-hmm.
That's another very popular one. But it's not as popular, and that one has a lot of um, it's more like one of those hidden gems, I guess, because most people always just try to go to Ischia because it's bigger and way more popular, and it could just
Yeah.
goes to Naples. You can even see those lines, those like travel lines. There's like three of them that go to Capri compared to like 10 or 11 that go to Ischia. The city that, or the body of land that is right near Capri is, you can see Termini, but the main city right there is Sorrento. I love going to Sorrento. It's across the Bay of Naples, and it takes about an hour and 20 minutes to get there if you're driving on the highways. And it takes you through a couple tunnels, which are really cool to drive. Just right through land. They just burrowed right
Mm-hmm.
through. Um, it's more of a, depending on where you go in Sorrento, it's, they claim lemonade was created there
Hmm.
and a thing called limoncello. Have you ever heard of limoncello?
No.
It's a liquor made from lemons. It's between like 15 to 30% alcohol content,
Hmm.
and it is, think of like very thick lemonade that's very high in alcohol content, and
Hmm.
it is mwah, beautiful. I love it. They make meloncello as well. They make chocolate cello. They make coffee cello. They make all kinds of stuff. But limoncello, mm. I still have some from when I was in Italy.
Nice.
Um, there's actually a place that I always tell people if they go. I became really good friends with this guy. He's really old. He's like 85 years old. He owns this place called Corner Shop Sorrento. I recommend looking it up and at least taking a look at it. Corner Shop Sorrento, and just putting that on your save list. It is a gorgeous place. He actually makes his own limoncello and other stuff, and he's the guy in that second picture behind the entire wine case. His name is Carmine.
Ah.
Him and his daughter run the place, but he's a
Nice.
really good guy. And anytime that I go, um, last oh, it's been 2 years, but every time that I would go, I would always say hi to him, and he would offer me complimentary shots. And I had to try not to drink too much, but I
Mm-hmm.
spent way too much there. But he's a really good guy, and Sorrento is a beautiful city. It's not my favorite city, I will say. My favorite city is actually to the north of Naples. If you take right in between Rome and Naples, The town of Gaeta, Gaeta, is my favorite town in all of Italy. I've probably been there, I don't know, 30 times. Maybe not 30, 25 times. It's probably the cleanest town I've ever been to in all of Italy. Uh, Naples is kind of known. It has the reputation of being the armpit of Italy. Unfortunately, there's a really bad track problem. People just tend to throw their trash out of the windows, and they
Hmm.
just don't have the infrastructure to just clean the trash up like other cities do, and even Rome has those problems. But Gaeta is an absolutely gorgeous place. Their beaches are wonderful. The sites are immaculate. There's a small base, a small military base, joint Italian and Navy there, and that's where the flagship of the Sixth Fleet is. But I mean, you can just see in some of these pictures. Um, it's my favorite place to go. There's an awesome kebab place. There's an awesome seafood place, and they invented a food. And I'm gonna try to pronounce it properly, but I'm probably gonna butcher it. I think it's tiella. Yes, it's called tiella. It's a vegetable meat pie,
Hmm.
and it was invented in the town of Gaeta. And so if there's like probably 10 different places in Gaeta where you can get tiella. Um, but yeah, there's also a really cool story here in Italy. It's not here in Italy, here in Gaeta. There was a um, officer in Vietnam who was an American who his parents had immigrated to America, who's from Gaeta. And when he got drafted, he dutifully went off to war and he died. And so he was a chaplain. And what happened was his men were uh, basically pinned down, and one of them had gotten shot. And so this chaplain ran into the line of fire and tried to grab the guy and pulled him into safety. And when he did that, he got shot. But he tried to save the life of this guy, and he jumped on top of the body um, to try to save the guy's life, but ended up getting shot. I think many times. I'm gonna get you the name of this officer. Um, but I had the very big honor of being able to serve during his. I actually don't even need to look it up. I remember it while I was describing it. It was Capodanno. So if you look up Gaeta Capodanno Day, you'll find it. There's a small shrine in the center of the town to him, and one of my chaplains uh, provided the chaplain service for that. Vincent R. Capodanno, Capodanno. He was the Medal of Honor recipient. He died during Vietnam, and his family was from Gaeta.
Hmm. That's really cool.
Yep. Like I said, I think the commanding officer of the base in Naples was there that day, and I had the privilege of driving my chaplain and serving in the event of that year's Capodanno Day. I think it was 2022 or 2021, whichever one it was. It happened to be that Korean American chaplain who almost died on Vesuvius. He was a really good guy though. But yeah, Vincent R. Capodanno. Aside from that, I've been to Rome many times. I think everybody goes to Rome. Um, uh, you, Rome is really fun. I think the first couple times you go, and then after that, you just kind of just go and figure out what other place things you can do there.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Vatican City one time, and then kind of found out that because I'm not religious, it's not very cool to go to. Other than that one time, you're like, wow, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Colosseum was cool. I never actually went inside because the lines were always like 2 hours long.
Mm.
I liked the Forum better,
Ooh.
and I liked the Trevi Fountain, the Basilica. Um, the Trevi Fountain and the Spanish Steps are like a 3 minute walk away from each other. It's actually really cool. Um, and then there's just, I mean, it's such a storied city that you can always find something to do.
Yeah.
And if you're not like really interested in the sightseeing, there's like a really cool nightlife that you can go to. Um, there's all kinds of different bar crawls and bar hopping that you can go to. Um, I don't know if you've ever heard of one of these, but there's a ice bar where they give you like a winter jacket and gloves, and it's like an entire bar where it's all ice.
Hmm. My wife would
That's
love
kind of
that.
cool.
She loves the cold. I hate it, but
Um, I went to Venice one time. I went
that's where
to
she wants to go.
Bologna.
She wants to
Yeah,
specifically
Venice.
go to Venice.
Was it for the going on the little boats?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I went to Bologna once, and I didn't really go to many of the other cities. To be honest, I could have gone to a lot of them.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I went to Salerno, which is south in southern Italy, south of Naples, south of Sorrento. Um, let's see. Um, then outside of Italy, I've been to Paris a couple times, in Spain. I went to oh geez, what's the name of that place? It has a military base on it, and I just stayed. I had like a really long layover, so I just fucked around in the city for a while. Um, oh my goodness, I have a friend who's stationed there, and I can't even remember the name of it. Oh, I apologize. I should have been. I should know all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Rhoda, Spain. There we go. I start looking it up, and then I
Mm-hmm.
remember it halfway through my search. Um, I think my favorite place that I've been to outside of Italy was Dublin. I went to Dublin
Mm.
2022 St. Patrick's Day. That was probably my favorite experience. Um, outside of Italy, that was just awesome. Just being able to be in Dublin for St. Patty's Day.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go to the Jameson tour, which wasn't as cool because it was just like a um, I don't know if you are like a big Jameson or a Guinness fan,
Nope.
but the Guinness tour was great. Um, the Jameson tour was okay. Just the experience of learning about how they make it more. But they kind of just put you in a room, and then they have like the person leading the tour going, "Yeah, this is what they do. Now come with me to the next room. Now this is what the next step. Now come with me to the next room." And then the next thing, and then come with me
Mm.
to the next room. Now here's something to actually taste. Now come with me to the next room. Now try this thing. This is the aged version. Okay, now fuck off to the shop. It was cool, and it was It was somewhat interactive. You got to like field stuff, like they had like wheat and stuff to actually feel. But the Guinness tour is this giant building, and you start off on the ground floor, and that's where the shop is. So you can actually go and check out the shop before it starts, and you have your set time where it starts. And then they say, "This time tour, come over here." And they say, "Okay, this is how it's going to work. You go up the escalator, and each floor is a different set of ways of how Guinness is made, all the way from sourcing the products to the all the way up at the top, the seventh floor, which is the final steps of the preparation process, and once it's actually out the door. Then the eighth floor is a 360-degree view sky bar where you can use your ticket and how you got in to get yourself a free Guinness and then stay as long as you want. Enjoy. Get on, you crazy kids. And it's completely individually driven, and you can stay as long as you want and take your time. And it was awesome. And there's like each floor is probably like, it took me like, if I was to go as fast as I wanted to, it would probably take 20 minutes to get through each floor, because you have to walk to each little section, read everything. There's like interactive TVs that go on like cycles, and then there's individual things that are just set there. Like some of them are like 3D, some of them are written. It's really cool. And then at the top, you just kind of hang out and you can chat with people, chat with the employees. You drink your Guinness. Beautiful. That was awesome. And so then we just hung out in Dublin. Got to see the city, got to meet some people. We went to a couple of the museums, some literature museums. I wanted to go see. There's one specific museum that I wanted to see on our final day, but I didn't get to. It was near the Trinity College. Let's see if I can find it. Um, let's see. We got to go to the Oscar Wilde monument. That was pretty cool. There was a bunch of fucking hippies, not hippies, but you know those types that think they're way too self-important, that like kind of like they were lounging around just like, oh, look at me, I'm near the Oscar Wilde's monument. But yeah, the Oscar Wilde monument was really cool. The National Museum of Ireland we went to. When I say we, it was there was an Italian national who I got into a relationship with, who I was with for about 2 years in total, off and on, and I went with her there. I think it was the Museum of Whiskey, of Irish whiskey, that I wanted to go to, that I ran out of time. It was unfortunate, but it was just one of those that we could have snuck it in if we were a little quicker on that last day, but I had to make I was the one who made the the cut for my own thing that I wanted to go to. But it was okay.
Yeah.
The Irish Museum of Modern Art we went to. We walked around St. James, and we just walked around the city, and just it was really cool. It was really hard to walk around during the parade, but the parade was really cool to see. There was the entire city. It felt like the entire city was there. He was going to school in Scotland, in Glasgow at the time, and so I went there a few times, and then I went to Edinburgh as well. And I plan to go to London and to um, where Nottingham, because I wanted to go to Warhammer World, but I never got to go to either one, London or Warhammer World in Nottingham. But I still plan to at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I've been to Germany. I've been to Edelweiss. I've been to Berlin. Berlin and Edelweiss were both for um, retreats. The military through the chapel, the chaplain program has this thing called uh, credo, which is like, hey, not the chaplain services, but like basically family services. It's another office, but that the region runs. Um, they offer like, hey, single sailors retreats, family retreats, couples therapy retreats. And so you pay X amount of money, and then you all go to this city for a retreat. And a lot of times they go to Germany. I don't know why,
Mm.
but one I went to Berlin and when I went to Edelweiss, and it was just really cool. You get to go around the city and do cool things, and then you come back and do like team building little things with the people. Um, I've been to Switzerland. Um, geez, Geneva, Geneva, Switzerland. Where is that on the map? I can't find it. There it is, Geneva, Switzerland. Um, that's more to the. I lost it again. Why is it so hard to find?
Mm-hmm. It's in this kind of in this tip here off of this lake or whatever's here.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's right. It's way to the west edge of
Mm-hmm.
Switzerland. It's basically France.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's closer to Lyon than almost any other city in Switzerland. Um, I think the one city that I would never ever recommend going to, and I'm going to be completely honest here, and this is for all you people viewing this, I'm about to be a little bit bigoted here, all right? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Paris. Fuck Paris. You ready for why?
Why?
Parisians are a bunch of racist, bigoted people.
Mm-hmm.
They hate people that are not from Paris, that are from not Paris in France. They hate people from Paris who are not from the country of France. And they hate French speakers who are not from France. So, like French Canadians, those from Africa who speak French, so like the former colonies, and they hate like the French speaking um Caribbean island people and like uh um Louisiana French speakers from like New Orleans. And they are like just straight up like bigoted towards those people. I have not had worse experiences from like a isolated group of people other than like just straight up people who are like, yeah, I hate this group of people because they are that group of people, other than Parisians, and those are that type of person. I just, if I had to recommend anywhere to not go, I think it would probably be Paris. Even like I've talked to people from not Paris like one of my ex's roommates when he was in Glasgow was a French girl from not Paris. I think she was from like Rennes or something. I
Mm-hmm.
forget exactly where. She was like, "Yeah, I don't like Parisians either. They don't like me. They're really shitty towards me.
Hmm.
Italians don't like them. Why? Because they're shitty towards Italians.
Mm-hmm.
They're just really shitty people in general. I
Thought
just
it was the
cannot
city of
recommend
love.
it. Yeah, the city of go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And if you ever have to go to Paris for like a layover, never go to Charles de Gaulle Airport. You
Mm.
will lose bags every single time. I have gone on a layover to Charles de Gaulle probably 4 times, and I think every single time but one time I have had at least one bag get like sent to another place and had to wait like 2 weeks to get it back.
Nice.
It's a shitty place. Fuck Paris. The Louvre has beautiful paintings. The Eiffel Tower is overrated as fuck.
Yeah.
The end. Sorry.
It's just is it steel or is it iron? Just a big old.
Yeah, it's a
It's
big
it's
old
basically
triangle.
like a skyscraper that lets the wind blow through it. You know, it's an
Yeah.
air cooled
Yeah, it's a
skyscraper.
big building. It's a big building and that goes if you want to go see something beautiful, go to fucking Portugal, go to Spain,
Mm-hmm.
go to you know what? Go all the way into the Mediterranean Sea and go to Cyprus. Go to Malta. Go see Alexandria in Egypt. Go to
Mm-hmm.
Morocco if you want crime to be an issue. Go to go see some of the previous Eastern Bloc countries. Like legitimately, Georgia is a beautiful country. They have some gorgeous stuff. I want to go to Georgia at some point in my life. But no, I never want to go to Paris ever in my life again.
Yeah, I want to go see the pyramids and go to the Vatican and I want to go to Germany just because that's where my bloodline's from. So I'd like to go back. I'm like
I would
90% German and then a little bit of Irish. They call it Black Dutch because it was German mixed with Irish. Um, and uh, then the rest of me is basically Native American.
some of the places that I have not been to that are highly recommended from people who have been to those places. Former roommate of mine and former coworker, one of my junior enlisted, he went to Iceland, and I think he went to Ray. What is this fucking place called?
Ooh,
Ray
Kajavik.
Ray Javnik is where you like go there first, and then you just like travel across like on that main two highways across Iceland. He said it was like literally not kidding, the greatest experience he had in his
Hmm.
entire life. He's currently stationed in Japan. You can't really get better than Japan. I think he's in Osaka or he's either in Osaka or Okinawa in Japan right now. That's pretty good. And he says that his like 1 week or like half a week in Iceland was literally the best thing he's ever done.
Interesting.
And he also was in Norway. I have people who went to Lithuania and Poland who said that that was awesome. Um, going to like Auschwitz was like mind blowing if
Hmm.
you're into that fucking dark shit.
Yeah.
Going to like Amsterdam, I want to do. Um, there's one thing that you gotta fucking watch out for. They will get offended if you ask to go to Anne Frank's house. I'm not kidding you. Do not ask to do that. They do not like it. They think it's disrespectful. Do not
Uh,
ask about Anne Frank's house. But yeah, there's beautiful things to do in Amsterdam. Go for a bike ride. Go see the beautiful like the flower fields near Amsterdam. I've heard are gorgeous. Um, the Dutch, the Dutch, like um, what's it called? Just like out in the wilderness of the Netherlands are just gorgeous. Like you said, Germany. I'd like to go see. I want to see a lot of these countries just to go to some soccer football games.
mm-hmm.
Greece.
Mm,
Um, there's Athens, obviously.
yep.
Thessalonica, North Macedon. You can go to Kosovo, which is kind of ick a country. I don't know. Did I spend too long talking about all this stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay.
All is very
Port-
interesting.
Portugal.
Give everyone a heads
I
up if
don't know.
anyone's listening and wants to go to Italy or any of these other places. They got a lot of information.
Hmm. Again, I'm not the best person for it. I know
Mm-hmm.
some people who literally like they built their tour in Italy or in these other countries around traveling. I just went whenever I could.
Yeah.
Um, which was cool. I did I had a really good time. However, there was people who like they like maxed out their expeditions, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I enjoyed myself, and but I didn't go to like literally every place.
Yeah.
I think I did it. I think I hit a good amount of places though.
Yeah. The only time I've been out of the country, I went to Mexico twice, and I've been to Puerto Rico. So.
Okay, I've been to Mexico. I'm only ever in Baja California, never in like the main body of Mexico. Only in just Baja California, and that was just south of Tijuana and Ensenada. And then I've been somewhere in not Mexico, Canada. Forget exactly where, but that was when I was a very young boy.
Mm-hmm. Been to Cancun twice. I've been over along I-40. I've kind of been both like east and west. When I was in the like third or fourth grade, my dad was a truck driver, and so he would he would kind of go coast to coast, and so he would, when he'd come into Oklahoma, if it was summer and I didn't have school, he'd pick me up and like we'd go all the way out to California, and then on his way back he'd drop me off, and then some other time we'd go out east. So I've kind of been out that way. I've been to Colorado a lot and Texas.
You said you're from Oklahoma though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you ever been? The one thing that I like to ask people who are from, I guess this, I mean, I'm a lot farther east than you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been to the Grand Canyon?
No, it's on the list though.
Because the places that I always ask people about are like the Grand Canyon, the um like I guess Chicago, New York City, because those I guess maybe like I guess like Nashville.
Yeah, I've been there just 2 years
What's
ago. I loved it. It's my favorite
How was
city.
that? Your favorite city?
I mean, I have not been to a lot. My last experience with a big city before I went to Nashville was Denver. So it was a big upgrade. Denver was awful. I went to Denver in like the high no towards the end of COVID. Well, in Oklahoma, we had pretty much ended COVID. Like masking mandates and everything were gone. There were still some businesses with the plastic dividers up, but not many. And so I went there. My mom was like, "You better make sure you bring a mask because you know how they're gonna be." And I was like, "Whatever." And yeah, we stopped. We were going to Vail, Colorado, to go skiing. Me and a couple of my friends, and we stopped in Denver to eat. And the first restaurant I went into literally got berated as we walked into the door because we didn't have masks on. They yelled at us and told us to leave. Didn't even give us an
Wait, where
option.
was this?
Denver.
In Denver.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second one we went to, they didn't really yell at us, but they asked us to leave. And we asked them if they had masks because we didn't have any. And they said
Mm.
no. And so it took 3 or 4 restaurants and we found a pizza place. And we came into the front and they told us you have to have a mask on to be in here. And we said, we don't have masks, but do you guys have any that you could provide us? And the little girl at the front went to the back. We were probably up there 15 minutes and she finally comes back, like a whole line built behind us while we were waiting. And they finally come back, give us masks. I'm not kidding, walked 6 feet to the table that was right by the hostess station, sat down and took our masks off and ate and never put them back on. I was like, what was the point of that? Why'd you just sit me down? That's where COVID, it can't get you while you're at the table. So,
COVID was a fucking wild
oh
thing. Have
yeah.
you ever been to Rushmore?
No.
I know it's pretty far north for you, but
Yeah, I
that's
haven't.
another one I think it would be really cool. But
Mm-hmm. I really want to go to DC. I don't like cities.
no, you don't.
I want to go there because I like the history. I want to see the White House for myself, and I want to see I just want to see all that, and then leave and never go back and just say I did it. It's the same thing with New York City. Like I want to go in there for like a day, look at all this stuff, and then probably leave because I hate big cities. I love being out in the middle of nowhere.
I think
But
if
it's
I ever were to go to New York City, it would be like taxi, drive me into Times Square. I want to get out,
mm-hmm.
get back in, and have me fuck off.
I've been to Orlando.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I drove through like Albuquerque, and I've been to Las Vegas
Do you
twice.
throw the pizza on Walter White's house?
Mm-mm. I don't even think I
you,
knew
you, you
when
watch
did
that?
Breaking Bad start? Because I mean, I when I
Oh,
went to
okay.
Vegas, I was like 8 or 9 years old, or when I came through Albuquerque, uh, yeah, I was like 8 or 9 years old. So I don't even know if Breaking Bad was around then. That's my wife's hands down favorite show. So,
It's a really good show. It's not my favorite show. I'm a little dumb nerd. My favorite show is Avatar: The Last Airbender, but
mm,
that's just because I grew up watching it.
hmm
But I think Breaking Bad's one of the best shows of all
yeah.
time.
I mean, I'm
I
even
don't think
dumber. I like
Avatar.
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty's really good.
hmm
I haven't watched past like the fourth season, but I really like Rick and Morty. And I know that Avatar isn't like the best show. It's like
Yeah.
nostalgia for me.
hmm
It's like that what's that first Pokemon movie, the one where Ash turns into stone? You just always have that special place in your heart for those like old time things that you watched as a kid.
hmm
But yeah.
Probably
Are
might
you
go
into
to.
sports at all?
Uh, well, I'm really not anymore. I used to be because I
Oh,
used to be able to
what
say
happened?
like, yeah, I'm into sports, but I haven't. Besides like local watching my like little brothers play their high school sports, I haven't watched and I didn't even watch the Super Bowl this year. So
You didn't?
nope. I was
Hmm.
like, I'm not into it anymore. You
So
used to
like
get like
what
invited to Super Bowl parties, so like you would watch it because you're there. Other than that, like football was never my thing. I liked baseball and basketball. I like watching basketball more than I kind of like playing it. But baseball, I played all through high school, all my life pretty much. I played baseball, uh, but I haven't been into any like MLB, NBA stuff in a long time.
What made you like fall off of it? Like lack of
Um,
being able to focus on it, or
the biggest thing was like when I moved out of my parents' house, I didn't want to get like cable because the only
mm,
thing that I would watch would be sports if I got cable. Uh,
yeah,
and then ESPN charges you like you can get that app, but you either have to pay like whatever amount it is and you can like pretty much watch everything, or if you only wanted to watch baseball and you only wanted to watch like your favorite team play, it still was like too expensive for me, and I was like, I really don't have that much time to be into it. So maybe at
I
some
think that's
point
fair.
I will get back because I loved UFC too, but I
Okay.
haven't watched UFC in a while either. But I kind of keep up with it because
Um,
of Joe Rogan's podcast. But
we can keep going. I'm just letting you know I have to take my dog out and then feed her,
okay,
so there's going to be a little bit of noise while we're doing this.
all right,
All
I
right.
can pause it because I actually need some water. If you wanted to go do that,
Okay. Yeah. So let me just mute
all right,
this call, and then I'll let you know when I'm back.
all right, well, we're back.
Alrighty.
So we were talking about sports. Uh, what sports are you into? You talked about football or soccer, football over on that side of the pond, but
Yeah. I'm big into football, soccer football, and regular football, mainly college football. Um, Ohio State. Um, you guys got the Sooners, but
mm-hmm,
people in Ohio go just slightly crazy for the Buckeyes.
mm.
Um, Not sure how aware you are of that, but it's almost like a religion.
Yeah, that's how people are with
Um,
the Sooners or the Cowboys. If you're on either side of
yeah,
it, it's like there's no in between.
yeah. They we we go pretty crazy into it, and luckily, even though we lost to Michigan this year, we pulled out that national championship. So I'm pretty happy about that. But on the soccer side of things, we have a professional team in Columbus, the state capital, the Columbus Crew, who I've been a fan of for a long time. I actually got to play on their professional soccer field
Nice.
when I was in high school. I played high school soccer my junior and senior year. They have like a incentive program where you work with the local team and you sell enough tickets and they offer you like a chance to play on their field against another team that sold a bunch of tickets, and um, we had to play against a team of division above us, and luckily we won. And so
Hmm.
that was fun. It was just one of the games that you play in your regular season.
Yeah.
And then I'm a fan of two teams in Europe. One of the Italian teams, the team from Naples, Napoli, who where I was stationed. I just grew to be a really big fan of them, and then a team from London. So, yep.
We did something similar when I played baseball in high school. There's the Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City. They every year they basically match up a bunch of teams and everyone just gets to like play against someone on the minor league field. So that
Okay,
was pretty cool.
that's really cool.
Except for one
Yeah.
year, they were in spring training. They were offering up this thing that all these high schools could like apply to go, um, and they were going to hold a tournament of just high school baseball teams from all over the country. And then you also got to watch like 3 spring training games basically included in your package there. And so we were supposed to go do that one year, But for some reason, Oklahoma did spring break like the week before like everybody else in the country. So we raised the money and everything, and then we didn't even get to go because it was like the next week, and somehow my coach didn't catch that before. But so we ended up going back to doing that thing where we play at the Bricktown ballpark, and because everyone went to do that this year, we ended up having to play a team from Texas that was basically like two or three divisions above us, and they whooped our butts. Like these kids walked out and I thought they were full grown men. And this dude literally on a minor league field, the center field was probably like 400 something. This dude hit a line drive into the scoreboard that's above the center field fence. I was like, dude, we usually play like well, not even like halfway out in the outfield, well in, because no one's supposed to be hitting a home run on this field in high school. And this dude line drived it. We ended up getting beat like 18-2. It was pretty bad.
That yeah, I don't know. It seems like there could have been something to make it a little like more fair.
Yeah, they said it was supposed to be like the same division at us as us, but in Texas they do it differently. That we have in high school sports, we have class B and then A, and it goes up to 6A. So class B is like the town I live in. It's very small schools. Most of the schools are so small, like two or three towns around combined to make a school. So and then it goes up. So we were class A at the time actually, and then now we're class B. But so they said this team was supposed to be like the same as us, and I guess they called it like D2 or something in Texas, and they're like, oh, it's like the same thing, but it was not. These kids, I don't know.
They the team that we played, I think there's three divisions in soccer in Ohio, and we were Division Three. They were Division Two team, and we at the time, I think it was like the I think we played 16 games in the season. It was like the seventh week, and we were undefeated at the time. And they had like three wins and four losses, or four. I don't know. They had a pretty bad record, and we were like, on paper we're a lot better, and we're competing for a conference title, and but we have no clue how good this team is in a division above them, above us, in a completely different conference. Who knows how good this team is going to be? They could absolutely smash us. You know, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And so we get there and we start training and stuff, and it's like the best pitch we've ever been on. It's like immaculate grass. This stadium is one that we've all been to and like been fans of and stuff, but we've never like played on something like this. This is so many seats, and all of our parents are like at the best seats in the whole place, being like, "Yeah, go, little idiots, cool." So we start playing, and I'm a defender, and it was pretty crazy. We just start running circles around them. I couldn't believe it. We're just like, these guys are all fucking idiots. I push up the field a little bit, and I pass to one of our center attacking midfielders, or our center attacking midfielder that was starting, and he just blasts one from outside of the 18-yard box, and he
Mm-hmm.
gets it in on our first shot of the game. And he runs up and he jumps on me, and I participated in the first assist of the game. We end up winning the game, I think 8-0. It was crazy at the professional stadium to a team that was a division above us. We ended up having two losses and a draw in our season, and we won our conference. And I think they just stayed bad. They were just, I guess, a really bad team. I don't know. I don't know why they tend to match up unfair matchups like that. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You would think on a professional field they would want a really good game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, their pitcher was like belting like 95 mile per hour fastballs. It's like our pitching
That's
machine didn't even go up that
crazy.
much.
That's nuts.
There was only
I
one
don't know
other
much
kid
about
in
baseball, but
Oklahoma.
that's I know that's crazy.
Yeah. There was literally this kid named Legend. That literally was his name. And
Legend.
as a sophomore in high school, he had already been recruited by OU because he was a left-handed pitcher and he was hitting 90 as a sophomore. It was crazy. He was really good. He played for this town. It's called Binger. Um, and while he was playing there, the coach there was Reggie Willits, and he holds the record in the MLB for the longest, like most games played in a row. So like longest streak without a home run. His thing was bunting. I got to talk to him a little bit when we played them, but uh, he was a really good bunter, and the way the entire time that dude was at that high school, that coach, they won every single state championship because what he would do was number 1 through 3 would bunt and get on base, bunt and get on base. 4 would come up and like jack a home run, and then 5, 6, 7 would all bunt, and 8 would hit a home run, and he would start it over. It was crazy. He won so many state championships with just doing that. It was crazy. Now he was the batting coach for the Yankees, but now I think he's moved up to a different coaching position. I can't remember what it is. I could probably look him up. But he was a really cool guy. Reggie Willits. Oh yeah, he's not with the Yankees anymore. He's volunteer coaching for the Oklahoma Sooners now. So
Hmm, nice.
yeah, that's a really
Do you
cool.
have any
But
Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say it's kind of a really cool record to have, a really weird one, you know.
I was gonna say, do you have anybody from your high school that has like any like really awesome like things that they're doing now? Like sort of like that?
Nope. My high school class was it had 30 people in it.
I think mine had like 51, so not too far off the
Yeah.
yours.
No one that I know. No. Everyone's just doing regular
Because
stuff.
we're about because we're the same age. We're about like 8 years. I'm about to hit 9, I think, out of high school. 2016, 4, 5, yeah, 9. Um, I think two, like one just became a doctor in physical therapy, and another one is about to get their doctorate,
Hmm.
from what I've heard. One of them is a working for the minor league team that's like associated with the major league team for the I think the Braves,
Hmm.
the Atlanta Braves,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And he's in like Cuba,
Hmm.
or has like connections in Cuba, trying to maybe not Cuba, because I think that's probably illegal, right? But it might be like the DR. It's probably the DR. That makes more sense. Like the Dominican
Yeah.
Republic,
Mm-hmm. We get a lot of people
getting
from there.
prospects because he was really big into baseball. That's a really cool career. Like the dude loved baseball. I think he played in like a Division 3, one of the local baseball teams. Um, And it might not even be the Atlanta Braves. I think that just made sense in my brain.
Yeah.
It's one of those Southern MLB teams I know, but it's the minor league team associated with one of those major league teams. And but yeah, he's working with like I think the Dominican Republic prospects.
Hmm.
So that's really cool, and
Yeah.
it's like one of his big passions. And I think that's really fucking neat.
Mm-hmm.
You like find something that you love, like he loves baseball. He got to play it in college, Division 3, but it's still really neat.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, one of the people who I went to high school with, she was a traveling nurse and did that during COVID. Like went all around the country, all around the world, and I think just settled in New York and just makes a fuck ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's it. I think that's it
Mm-hmm.
for all the cool stories.
Yeah, there was one kid I know wanted to become a veterinarian, but I don't know if he has. I haven't seen him in a while. I wanted to be a doctor. That was like one of the first things I wanted to do. And then I didn't like college.
No, college sucks, man.
I got my EMT license and then I was in nursing school. Uh basically like my prelim the last class that I took in college really was anatomy and physiology. And then I didn't like that and I ended up there was a prison that was hiring and I was like, I'm going to be a cop. And then I worked at the prison for a couple of years and we had a riot so that it got crazy and uh ended up quitting there, started working at UPS and I haven't left. And I don't
You
even
told
know.
me about the UPS story the first
Mhm.
episode.
Yeah. The only way I would I mean, the only way I would leave UPS is if I got a business started that was really good because even if I got like a decent business started, I would probably just go back down to part-time so I could keep my insurance and benefits and everything because it's very good benefits and the insurance is you don't pay anything for it. UPS pays for all of it and it's pretty good stuff. Most of the time when I go to a doctor, I don't pay anything out of pocket besides like the copay, like $10 or $20.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the main reasons why you keep a job like that is
Mm-hmm.
the benefits are just really nice. And I mean that's to be honest, that's a major benefit of like federal work. The
Yeah.
benefits are fucking super nice, especially like the retirement benefits. Holy smoke, bro!
Mm-hmm.
If you can keep a federal job for 20 years, goddamn.
Let's see.
What else is going on in popular culture that is of note?
Oh, the tariffs,
Oh yeah,
the
the
tariff
tariffs. We're
war.
having the trade war with Canada that's not
Mm-hmm.
going well for Canada, and
Yeah, and I've
then
heard a lot about that.
they got tariffed by China as well.
Yeah.
But nobody's talking about that because it's racisms to be mean to the Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're dirty communist people, and they
Yeah.
deserve to be having mean done to them.
Mm-hmm. China's being kind of weird because I did hear they put those tariffs on Canada, but then I heard that they're not going to buy American beef anymore. I think it was just beef. And they're only going to buy from Canada and Europe. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. I didn't have time to look it up. But that'd be kind of weird. But I don't know much about these tariffs because people are saying that Canada has for a long time like had a trade deficit with us. Like they have had more tariffs on us than we've had on them. And so
Yeah.
then now Trump is starting to put tariffs on them, and then they have upped their tariffs. And
Hmm.
it seems like it's a bunch of just political bullcrap. And of course, Justin Trudeau's out now, and we got this new guy in. So who knows what this dude's all about?
Yeah,
Uh,
from what I know, a lot of different commodities, Canada has been tariffing um, the U.S. I don't know the exact numbers, but there's, let's say, 20 different things. Canada has consistently had tariffs on those things for a long time, and that's one of the things that Trump had always said was just not good. That's one of the things they use. Like, yeah, we can't have that. That's just not okay. And so he threatened to put tariffs on Canada to try and force that, because the second that we do that, Canada just can't exist because their
mm-hmm,
economy is so small, the population um can't they they can't cope with that from an economic standpoint. We can deal with those tariffs because the the amount of money that comes with that tariff is the equivalent of maybe 1% of our GDP. So maybe. I don't
mm-hmm,
even, to be honest, I don't even know the numbers. So it's such a small amount compared to what we would be doing, because I think we're putting like a, I don't know, like I don't even know what the percentage of tariffs that we're putting on them, but they have like 100% tariff on this commodity, an 80% tariff on this commodity, and our proposed ones are, let me just try to grok this. Um, I don't even know if I can do. How do I find grok on the?
yeah.
Oh, grok, there it is.
All I know is
Uh,
Trump, from what I
Trump
understand, Trump's just
versus
asking them
USA.
to help keep illegal immigrants and fentanyl out. And then their thing is saying the illegal immigration isn't a problem at the northern border, and then that only 40 pounds of fentanyl was ever like found to have been going through there. So they're saying it's not a problem. So if they're saying it's not a problem, why are we having this trade war? Why can't they just like stop and be like, okay, you're gonna put all these tariffs on us when there's not even a problem. So why don't we just keep doing the same thing we were doing and tell him that we're gonna help with this problem when there's not a problem in the first place? That's what makes me think that Trump is right and they're wrong. Because if it's not a problem, then why are we fighting? You know?
All right, let's see. The United States, per under Trump, imposed tariffs on Canada. These include a 25% tariff on nearly all Canadian exports to the US, covering a wide range of goods, and 10% tariff on Canadian energy exports, such as oil and natural gas. Okay. Canada's retaliatory tariffs, the initial phase was 25% tariffs on 30 billion worth of US goods imported into Canada, like orange juice, peanut butter, wine, spirits, beer, coffee, appliances, apparel, footwear, motorcycles, cosmetics, certain pulp and paper products. Their planned expansion is 125 billion worth of US imports, bringing the total up to 155 billion. Should the US maintain its tariffs, the second phase was set to follow a 21-day consultation period, but was paused on March 6th, aligning with the US postponement, which further action deferred until at least April 2nd. Canada's Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc recently stated on March 12th, today, that an additional 20 billion in tariffs would target U.S. steel and aluminum imports specifically in a retaliation to Trump's metal tariffs. Canada's position, articulated that by Trudeau and other officials, is that the U.S. tariffs were unjustified. They argue that less than 1% of fentanyl intercepted at the U.S. border originates from Canada, and Canada has already invested heavily in border security measures, e.g., 1.3 billion border plan. Canadian government has vowed to keep its tariffs in place until the U.S. lifts its measure. It says the context and implications, trade relationship. The U.S. Canada relationship is massive, with roughly 3.6 billion in goods crossing the border daily. U.S. relies heavily on Canada imports like energy, critical minerals, and immediate goods for manufacturing. Canada sends about 75% of its exports to the U.S. I mean, that right there is fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
The second that Canada tries to do any of that stuff, the U.S. can just go like, okay, well, we're done even buying any of that stuff. We can manufacture all of the stuff that you want to do in there, and the second that you try to put tariffs on $155 billion worth of goods coming into us, we'll just cut all of it off.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the fact, let me just Google real quick. Canada GDP. Canada's GDP is only $2.18 trillion. A hundred and what is that? 120, 155 billion is a significant chunk of that. That's like, let me do the that's 1/14th, I think. That's 14%. That's
Mm-hmm.
14% of their GDP. If my very quick math is not
That sounds
stupid.
about right to me.
So you're threatening to say, hey, we're gonna charge you even more on 14% of the stuff that we rely on you for,
Mm-hmm.
and we're reliant on 75% of our economy to work through you. That just doesn't seem like a smart plan.
Nope. And whoever that new guy is that just got in, he was immediately threatening to cut off. He said he was going to shut down all the energy that they were giving to New York and Minnesota or something. And so
Yeah,
now Trump is already.
Ontario.
Mhm.
Yeah, go on.
So Trump was already saying, I think he realized at that point, he's now like, well, why do we get energy from Canada? Let's not do that
Yeah,
anymore. So now they're going to lose that just
yeah.
because they don't want to. They
Ontario
don't want to.
provides energy. This province of Ontario provides energy to like 4 or 5 different states, including like Minnesota, Wisconsin, parts of New York, and a couple other places. And he was like, "Yeah, if you continue doing these tariffs, which again are only like 25%, and theirs are like equal out to like and it's 25% tariff on everything and 10% tariff on energy. Um, Theirs would be a total of 155 billion on America. He's now threatening to just cut off energy. The US could just go, okay, well, we're just going to invest more in our energy and you'll put our energy into ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and get our grid stronger. Do you not think that Elon has that capability or some other company?
Mm-hmm.
And so now all of that funding is not going to go there. I I just Canada doesn't. Canada should know that they're completely reliant on the U.S.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to hide something. I don't know what they're trying to hide, but they're trying to hide something.
Yeah,
I don't know why they think they're gonna win. I don't know if they're gonna try and blow this up to be such a big thing, and then all of a sudden they're gonna come back around and make it seem like they owned America. You know, kind of like what Zelensky's doing, where he's been trying to come back to these negotiations, and then he's tried to ask for more things when it was kind of already agreed upon. And so I kind of feel like that's the way we're going, where it's kind of going to be like they're trying to just like puff their chest out and look all big and bad. And at the end of the day, it probably it's not going to go well for them. So, and a lot of people don't seem to like the idea of it becoming the 51st state, which I don't think that's how it'd be done. They'd probably make all the different provinces into their own states, but I don't know. I've always
it
been an
actually.
expansionist.
I think it actually would be worse for America. Well, it would be worse for our political side if they made more provinces, more states, because Canada's by far um, left leaning. So the more states that got created, the more
Mm-hmm.
um, electoral college votes go to the left. So one state becoming a liberal state is better than multiple states becoming liberal states.
Yeah,
You know,
that'd probably only add. I mean, the population's like 40 million, so you're probably talking only about adding possibly 20 million voters. So if 3/4 of those, 15 million of those guys are would have voted for Kamala, and the other 5 million would have voted for Trump last election, we still would have won, right? Probably
yeah,
not.
but it's about the it's like so right now it's about getting that 270 vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
add that and you add the number of states, you're now trying to get like what 275, 280, maybe 280. Well, now if all of those new states are left leaning, you've essentially made it so you can't win now. If every
Mm-hmm.
single one of those states electoral college votes are now going to the left every single time, unless you get a landslide victory like we got in the 2024 election.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. We can only speculate because right now Canada kind of it's not a dictatorship, but they definitely don't have a lot of freedom. They don't have freedom of speech enshrined in the Constitution or anything like that. So I kind of feel like a lot of it is forced upon them to be left leaning. Because I do know some people
I
from
agree.
Canada and they don't agree with any of that stuff. They're really as conservative as any other person that would have voted for Trump. And so I kind of feel like a lot of them are hiding in the shadows. And if we annexed them in any way and made them a part of the America and gave them all the rights that we have, I feel like you would see a flip. Because if you just look at the California uh, map from the elections and look at it by county, you can see the change from the 2016 election to this 2024. That blue area has almost become all red around Los Angeles and San Francisco. It's almost all red around
Yeah.
it now. So I feel like as people get more confident that they can speak their minds without being jailed or ostracized in any way, I feel like it would change a lot. But it's all speculation. It could go either way. And I think a lot
I
of
also
people don't
don't
want to
even
risk it.
know. I also don't even know how realistic it is if Canada becomes another state. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's all a lot of joking.
Yeah.
1 second. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in a call right now. So I saw you coming in, and so I just closed the door because Hannah was barking. And I think from the very beginning, like that picture of Trump standing there over the icy
Mm-hmm.
mountain with the Canadian flag, I think that was all just like
Yeah.
basically trolling. I think what he's mostly focused on is trying to get the better trade deals, and I think
Yeah.
he's more focused on the southern border, way more so than the
Mm-hmm.
northern border. I don't know if you've I guess this is a topic. Have you seen what's going on at the southern border?
Not exactly.
Well, it started off with um, the Mexican president, the female, whatever her
Mm-hmm.
name is.
Shining or
Um,
something. The Jewish female.
yeah, the Jew woman sounding name. Um, he gave permission, essentially, well, probably strong armed, um, to allow Army Special Forces, Green Berets,
Mm-hmm.
to head down there and start training Mexican Marines to fight asymmetrical warfare. And so, I believe it was around 220. Well, okay. How much time do you have, or is there not really a cap on this? Because
We probably
I don't
got
know
to
how long
start
we've been
wrapping it
going.
up. It's almost
Okay.
10, so
Yeah. How long have we been talking? Has there been
2.5 hours on record.
Okay. So I guess, are you okay talking about this Mexico part a little, like, briefly,
Yeah, we can
or do you want
briefly
to
go over
end
it
here? Okay.
because it kind of ties
Um.
into what we were just talking about. So,
So, I to get more information on this, I actually recommend looking into the YouTube channel Valhalla. I'll get the exact name. Valhalla VFT. He is a former Green Beret, and he talks about the, like, his time in the military. He actually helped expose a lot of, like, lies that a lot of, like, people in the, like, public eye, like, Tim Kennedy, that former UFC fighter who was Army Special Forces. He told a lot of fake stories about his time in service, um, unfortunately. But most recently, he's been coming out with stories of what's going on at the southern border. Well, first, it was 220 or so Green Berets went down, and I'm not sure if you're aware of what the Green Berets do,
mm-hmm.
but they go behind enemy lines and they basically fight a guerrilla war with the locals, and they train the locals how to fight similar to how they fight and how to fight the war for themselves. Um, so that's what they're doing, and they're working with the Mexican Marines. Well, now they're going to be sending armored divisions, helicopter squadrons, and infantry units across the border to the tune of a good fucking number of them, but at least two armored divisions of army, like regular army, not special operations, into Mexico pretty soon. Like these are instructions, military orders that are coming down from the top that are officially getting okayed. And so the infrastructure for this is getting put into place. So the war against the cartels is starting up soon.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
If it hasn't already, if there haven't been, like, stuff that we haven't heard about because we're not important enough
Yeah.
to know, um, that they're about to have a really bad fucking day because, like, armored vehicles and infantry, like mechanized infantry, is not something that's like army U.S. Army mechanized infantry with, like, air support, like air cav support and special operations to your back, is not something that almost anybody can deal with. And I'm sure that's a larger topic for another day, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a really bad fucking day for the cartels.
Yeah. Yep. And then that ties into why we're putting tariffs on China because they're the ones that manufacture the fentanyl. I'm not sure if they're manufacturing the fentanyl in Mexico. I think they're manufacturing it in China and they're shipping it to Mexico and then it comes over the border. I know at one point El Chapo had a fentanyl um, factory, but that got shut down very quick. But other than that, I don't know about that.
The Mexican president did put in something, and I think it was pretty smart, and a lot of people criticized her for it. She put in like something with her, she pushed it, and it got passed. I'm not sure if it was Constitution or something along those lines, but uh, no sovereign nation is allowed to commit military operations on Mexican soil without express permission and from the Mexican government.
hmm.
Basically, America can't just go and fucking do whatever they want on Mexican soil without Mexican government's permission. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's trying to hamper what America can do," and I'm just like, guys, why would another country just want America running around rampant
Mm-hmm.
in their country for no fucking reason? We have to be realistic about this. We're
Mm-hmm.
Americans, but would we want like Bosnia to just send a couple thousand soldiers with armored vehicles and air support and like fucking mass murdering special operations soldiers just into our country? No. So I think Mexico has the right to like put that in and demand like authorization to send murderers into their country. So
Mm-hmm.
let's cut her some fucking slack. I think that's
Yeah,
okay. So
totally understand. But
yeah,
did you hear about like how she got elected?
no, but
There,
I there was
there
like some
was
controversy, wasn't it?
there was a lot of controversy. Basically, almost every other person that was running against her got assassinated.
Oh,
Almost
like who?
every single other person by the cartels and whoever. Anyone that was
Now
anti
she's stabbing the
cartel.
cartels in the back.
Mm-hmm.
God damn. Good for her.
It
You
was
know
a
what?
lot.
Hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do. I Mexico's not a fucking good place, you know. It's
No,
not a it's not a it's not a uh it's a corrupt place.
very.
It's not as corrupt as like Ukraine or Russia. We all know how Putin got into power and has stayed in
Mm-hmm.
power. We know the stuff about Zelensky. At least it's not Venezuela. At
Oh.
least it's not Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
At least it's not what El Salvador was 10 years ago. El Salvador has gotten a lot better. Maybe Mexico's going to improve, but at least what she's doing now seems to be like, hey, the cartels helped me get into power, and I'm choosing the correct side, which is the side that has a lot more guns and a lot more capability of killing off the other side. So she may not be a good person, but most people aren't, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I don't know about her, but as long as she seems to be working pretty well with Trump, I think
Yeah,
she already gave in. Uh,
I yeah.
and
She
Canada
tried to
is just
strong
not.
arm him at the beginning,
Yeah, she tried, but
and
that's
she
also why
realized
I
a
would
lot
never.
faster than Canada did that
Mm-hmm.
it was not a good idea. I don't trust her. I don't think anybody should trust her, and I think
Yeah.
Trump is smart to basically be like, "Hey, we have the U.S. military in your country. I don't care what that little piece of paper that says you got to ask permission. You already gave permission,
Mm-hmm.
so we're here. We're gonna kill the cartel members."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, was there anything else before you want to be done? You said you wanted to wind down.
Yeah, I don't think so. We kind of since we started talking about the tariffs with Canada, I kind of wanted to cover the whole aspect of the tariff thing. So we did get into the Mexico part and then why we're tariffing Canada or why we're tariffing China too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's good. I think we did pretty good today.
Cool. But yeah, I was surprised that we talked a lot about my my time in service in a lot of the places I
Mm-hmm.
went to be honest. But I mean, you seem to be interested in that, so I'm
Yeah,
glad that
I like
you got
traveling.
you got that part of. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Um, are you gonna do an outro, or are we just gonna end the call?
I'll record a separate intro and outro, but we'll basically just say goodbye to everyone, and then I'll do a separate outro. But
Alrighty. Well,
all
it
right,
was a good 2 hour two. How long has it been now?
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Wow, that a lot longer than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me again,
No
and
problem. Thanks for
I
coming
hope
on.
I hope it's a good podcast.
I hope so too.
Yep.
And I hope for many more of them. I'm trying to do the
Yeah.
solo ones, but I'm also trying to find. There's a lot of issues going on in Oklahoma with our governor, and I keep trying to find people to try to come on this podcast and talk about those issues because I know nothing, almost
You
nothing
said
about it.
with your what? Like with your
Governor,
government?
governor,
Oh, governor.
Governor Stitt.
Mm.
There was a Swadley's scandal. It was a barbecue restaurant. He gave this restaurant the express, basically permission, and only them to set up restaurants at all the state parks, I guess. And so I want to learn more about that, but I'm having trouble finding people because the second I say, "Hey, you want to come to my podcast?" people quit replying to me because I guess they think I'm just trying to promote my own podcast. But I'm really interested in that, and I'd like to talk to more people about it.
So,
But most of the
my
time,
gubernatorial thing, I think, is going to go a lot smoother. We've had DeWine for a while,
mm-hmm.
but Vivek Ramaswamy is gearing up for a gubernatorial run, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna fucking blow DeWine away.
Oh yeah, I
We're
think
gonna
our
get
governor's
our little
really.
Hindu boy.
I think our governor's really like a rhino, and he's kind of just. Oklahoma was the first state to make their own Doge, and so he's so proud of this.
Mm.
He's so proud that we have a Department of Governor Efficiency inside Oklahoma, but I don't actually know if that's even doing anything because I think he is kind of corrupt, like this Swadley scandal thing. He profited a lot off of it, and then another big thing is like I don't know if you know, but inside Oklahoma, I think there's 172 sovereign nations, and that's the Indian reservations, and he wants to get rid of them.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
You guys lost a bunch of land too, didn't you? They promised like that a whole chunk of your state's going to be given back to the people who can't fucking figure out that it's not their land anymore.
Yeah.
You know, fucking losers.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of it completely.
That's my position. You guys fucking lost. Give it up. You're Americans now. And if you don't want to be Americans now, fuck off or kill yourselves. I'm sorry you have to live with all those people.
Yeah, they're technically Americans, but inside the reservation, federal and state government cannot like do anything. It's basically like it's another country, but they can you can just drive through it. You know, it's not like there's gates around it and stuff. So he wants to get rid of it and like completely end the reservation thing where they're their own country, basically. Because and the only thing that he cites is a case from I believe is 1998 where this Indian raped and murdered a 5-year-old girl and then went to his reservation, and the reservation wouldn't extradite him back to be prosecuted. So that's what he cites that. And then every Indian reservation has like they can get their own license plates, and so they own those. That tax money from buying that license plate only goes to that Indian reservation. It doesn't go to pay for the roads that everybody else drives on, but they can still drive on all the other roads. And so there's no database, like the police can't look up that license plate and see who has it, warrants they have, stuff like that. And then when they're on like turnpikes, toll roads and stuff, that they can take pictures of the license plate and then they can't look them up and charge them for being on that toll road. So
That's crazy. We should round all of them up and throw them in the Gulf of America. I'm sorry. No, I'm not actually sorry. Fuck all of them. They need to learn where they are now. This is something that is very controversial, probably.
Mm-hmm.
All those damn fucking dirty descendants of the Native Americans
I
have
am a
had it
descendant
so
of Native
nice,
Americans.
have had it so fucking nice, and have had such a fucking pleasant time of getting all these handouts, and they don't even have good lives in a lot of situations from their reservations. But want to know
Yeah.
what? Well, a lot of them have not had good lives. All
No,
those
there's
fucking
like
drunks.
5 tribes in Oklahoma that got in on the casino business early, and they're super rich. The rest of them, yeah, exactly like you're saying.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is like, how many Native Americans are there that live on reservations and stuff like that in America? And how many of that entire population are fucking living great? A
Mm-hmm.
fraction, like 20%, maybe. How it would probably be better if they just lived like Americans. Do you think the Japanese Americans are like demanding like a piece of California because they had to live in internment camps for a while?
Yeah.
No. Do you think the Irish are demanding to get like some nice shit because they had to be basically indentured servant slaves for a while? No. The blacks want it because they had, slavery. They want all the
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's the word? They want um reparations. Fuck that.
No thanks.
But no. I mean, I'm part. I have Cherokee blood in me. I can
Mm-hmm.
trace my ancestry back to the Cherokee Nation. I'm not trying to fucking get some free handouts and live on the reservation and talk like this. How?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm an American. Everybody else here is an American.
Yeah, they're allowed to have their own culture, but the reservation
As
thing
long as
gets weird.
well, they should have their own culture as long as
Mm-hmm.
that culture is assimilated into the American culture.
Yeah. I think he wants to keep the reservations, but he wants to end this stupid thing where like we can't extradite criminals. But it's really we've only had this like one incident where that guy murdered and raped a 5-year-old girl. And for some, I don't even know why they wouldn't. Um, the reservation charged him and put them through his own courts, and he only ended up getting like 5 years in prison for it for some reason. And I don't know why this reservation wouldn't give him up. It's kind
That
of
should be
weird.
grounds to burn down the entire fucking place. I
Yeah,
think that's a topic for another time.
yeah.
Is
And we
the
got to wrap up.
assimilation of all cultures into the American one and what it actually means to be a melting pot.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be another topic. But yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right. Thanks for the conversation.
Yep.
It was nice having you
Hope you have a
on.
good rest of your night, man.
You too.
See ya.
See you, everybody.
Yeah, see ya, everybody, all you beautiful viewers.
Mm-hmm. Hope you guys
Peace.
enjoyed it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Miller Talk podcast. Today, we're talking to Tristan Lucas again. He's returning from the first episode. Today is not a debate, though, it's just regular conversation. We start talking a little bit about the news and what's happening in Ukraine, and then we dive a little bit into his military experience and travels that he went through, and we finish up talking about the tariffs. So, anyways, let's get to it.